I'm Charlie Bright of Gold Derby, and today I'm speaking with Jay Rosenblatt, the director of the Oscar-nominated short documentary When We Were Bullies. First question I wanted to ask is how I know you had the reunion in it, but how hard was it to track down all of those people from your fifth grade class? I can't imagine that was an easy thing.
It was not easy. You're absolutely right. Thanks for having me here, by the way. And yeah, I'm not a Facebook person. I don't do social media, so I didn't even have those tools at my disposal. Although some former classmates helped me because they do social media and they knew of people. Some of them stayed in touch with their grade school friends. I didn't. Richard, the main subject in my film, is one person in the film. It's revealed how we met, but he's like the only person I had anything to do with. So it was pretty hard. Usually it was word of mouth. I got, like I said, a couple of my fifth grade classmates or just schoolmates, not necessarily in that class, helped me out. And one of them, to be honest, wasn't even in the class photo, but somebody in my interview said, I think Paul was involved in this. And I said, really? Because Paul's not in this class photo. And sure enough, that he was the hardest person to find, but I did it, through Google searches and all that kind of stuff. And when I finally got through to him, he said, yeah, I was in that class. And it must have been that he missed the class photo day. So that was really fortuitous. But the hardest thing was really finding my fifth grade teacher. Do you want to hear about
And
that?
well, yeah, and that's probably one of the most interesting parts of the movie, where you realize that it's because it happened to you, and she has seen so much of it that it all kinds of blends together.
Right, right. And but I quite honestly didn't even think of looking for her because I just assumed she was not alive anymore. And when I went to that reunion, the biggest takeaway was finding out that she walked into one of my schoolmates' ophthalmologist's office where she worked in Florida and she said, Mrs. Bromberg is still alive and I'll help you find her. And that was a huge breakthrough that I didn't even expect. So it was kind of this amazing twist in the making of the film that I could add into the film.
So you have that very compelling ending to the movie, where you were initially going to talk to Richard about what had happened. You decided not to do that. Since this film has been getting more attention, have you heard from Richard, or has he reached out to you at all, like he did with your short film years earlier?
That's a good question. No, he has not. When I began the film, I totally expected that I would interview him, and that would be kind of the crescendo in the film. While I was making the film, it became very clear to me that I didn't want to involve him. I felt like it would be possibly imposing on him. I felt like the film was really not about him. It was about us. It was about complicity. It wasn't really about him. And I also just felt like it wasn't fair to pull him into it. And at that point, I decided to make him unidentifiable. So we don't see his face as a child. We don't know his real last name. Um, and whenever anyone referred to him, I beeped out that. So, and I also went to the extent of tracking down the class photo used to be online, and I didn't want it online. I thought if people see my film, they might just do a search and then see it, and then it would be kind of not fair. So I was able to get the website to remove that one class photo. So I think I did due diligence in trying to protect his identity. And I also know that with the film, getting more notoriety, that it's very well that he'll get wind of it and he might contact me, and then we'll have a discussion. And then I'm happy for him to see it, but I don't want it to I didn't want it to come from me. I wanted it to just maybe be like last time. But also last time I did send him a DVD of that film and then he never responded. So to me, that was a message like, I don't want to think about this. That was then. I have another life now.
Um, did you ever have, I know that some people with regards to documentary filmmaking are not fans of when the filmmaker makes themselves a central character in that. And I was curious if you ever had any reservations about making a documentary where you were one of the central characters in it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I felt that way so much so that in the first film that's referred to, it's called The Smell of Burning Ants. I made that in 1994. I didn't even want to use my voice. I didn't like the sound of my voice, and that's how I found Richard, my narrator, who turned out to be in my fifth grade class. I have gotten a little bit used to being in my films in some form. I make personal documentaries, so sometimes my films are in first person. So I have narrated a couple other films of mine. I also have made several films with my daughter, and I appear in those. It's more about her, but it's about our relationship. So there's glimpses of me. So I've kind of a little bit used to it, not to this extent. And I'm more of an introvert, so it was hard. I had to really force myself to, a lot of times it was just me and the camera. So I would set up the camera and then I would, do what I had to do, like calling my teacher, trying to find her. That was just me and the camera. So yes, to answer your question, I did have to overcome some internal reticence, but it was a very personal film, and to not be in it didn't feel like an option.
So one of the other striking things about the film's presentation is the animation that's used in it. Kind of looks like stop motion. I don't know if it actually was stop motion, but it's it's such a visually striking method. And I was curious if animation is an aspect that you've used in your previous films, and if so, what's drawn you to use that in films?
Yeah. Well, thank you for pointing that out. My animator, Jeremy Rourke, is amazing. And this is the first time I've used animation in any of my films. I'm very, very picky about animation, and I don't like a lot of animation. Um, I just don't like, aesthetically, don't like it. Not always. There's some films where it's great. But I had seen Jeremy's work. He works analog. You're entirely correct. It's stop motion. That means frame by frame. It's very tedious work and very time consuming and painstaking work. And he was amazing. He was the best collaborator I've ever worked with. And it became clear to me while we were playing around, because he has some different styles, that I really wanted the style of animation to match my aesthetic. And I had kind of a collage aesthetic. And to use it, I think a big breakthrough in this film was when I realized that we shouldn't go outside of the class photo. Let's try to use that class photo, every permutation we could come up with. And I think that forced a certain kind of creativity, and it also fit into my found footage that I was using. It just felt right. So I'm very happy. And, it's very hard to make a film that's about something that happened decades ago. And animation, and especially the way we did it, I think helped me solve that problem, because I didn't want a lot of talking heads. I'm not big on that.
So, as I mentioned, you were nominated. You've been nominated for an Oscar for this short film in the Best Documentary Short category. I was wondering, what was it like finding out that this, not just that you had been nominated, but that you were nominated for this very personal project of yours?
Well, I've made a lot of films. I've made over 30 films, and I've had other films that have qualified, but have not. One film went shortlist before they announced, years before they announced shortlists. So it's always been in the back of my mind what a great honor that would be. And I'm in the Academy, and to know that my peers in the documentary branch voted for this. And also, you know, quite honestly, I had no Oscar campaign. Not not 1 cent. It was all word of mouth. So, you know, it felt, I guess, I don't know, even more amazing because it it didn't feel, and I don't mean this to sound the wrong way, but there's so much money now in this whole business, and my film didn't feel like I had bought the nomination at all. It felt like it really earned it on its own merits, and you know, I think that's how it should be, to be honest.
Well, Jay, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you all the best over the rest of this award season. And to all of our viewers, please like this video, smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to go to goldderby.com and use the Gold Derby app to make your predictions for this year's Oscars. Thanks so much, Jay.
Thank you.